Well, hey there, everybody. It's Ashley here from Lovely Commotion. Thank you for joining me this Sunday. I am excited to share with you something I've been working on in regards to the Science Center. Science and math aren't something that come naturally and easy to me, so this is definitely one of the areas that I have to push myself a little bit more. And I love having a very open ended classroom and letting children move from center to center and get engaged. But for the past several years, I have been using very open ended science centers, like putting things on a shelf, adding a book about that science topic if I have one, and just letting the children explore. And when my teacher friend across the hall and I were talking, we were finding that it was just not being used. Our science centers just they were kind of sad. They were kind of blah because it's not easy to find materials for science that don't cost an arm and a leg, and it's it's not an easy thing to put together where children know what to do. I wanted this thing to be open ended, but what I found that they were doing was that they were walking in the center, maybe seeing if something was new, maybe tinkering with it for a bit, and then leaving. And they were doing the same thing at the light table. And I decided, you know what? The light table needed a little bit more structure. And so I created some mats for them to use the manipulatives with. And that really helped. So I thought, why not bring that to the Science Center? Give them a little bit more structure on what to do with the materials in front of them. And, right now I currently have a product that I've been using for several years that's more focused on scientific topics, right? Um, Sink and float, pumpkins, plants, rocks, different kinds of scientific topics. But I found it just wasn't working. It wasn't drawing them in and it wasn't bringing in their attention. But I also knew that if this was a science center, I couldn't put just like experiments in there that needed a little bit of guidance and materials that they shouldn't be having without me right there. So that was something I had to keep in mind as well. And so with bouncing off ideas with my teacher bestie across the hall from me, we kind of like, what if trays were a part of it? What if they could pick a tray and have a little bit of guidance with that? Because it felt like unless it was very obvious what they should do in that center, they weren't connecting the dots, and therefore they weren't engaged, and therefore they weren't exploring, and therefore in their little mind it was like science center blah, right? And that's not what I want for them at all. So I have kind of revamped these in hoping that they will be more engaging and more helpful for them to know what to do. So I wanted to show you a peek inside some of them. I've gotten two of them finished, colors and sound. And so I still have like the poster to hang on the wall to tell what theme it is, and I have some real pictures of that thing, that topic in use, but most of it is done in the trays. And then while doing a little collaboration, we also said, hey, why not try the sensory tub in the Science Center this year? Always looking to try something new. It's science lends itself so well to discovery and sensory and all these different things that, hey, you know what? Let's give it a whirl. So that I'm going to walk you through the four different trays for the colors and the sounds, and then also the sensory table to go with them and how I plan on organizing them because I'm super excited. I think this is going to add enough structure, but hopefully not like so rigid that it's not something they want to explore. I don't think it will be. So first up, color mixing. So I made these awesome color mixing bottles using I think mineral oil and corn syrup. And so you have to use a special dye for the mineral oil. It's like more of a candy dye, like you find like Wilton, you can make candies with them. But oh my gosh, they're so cool because, you've got red and yellow, and then when you move the bottle they mix, and then when the bottle settles they separate again. And so what a fantastic way for them to watch how colors mix, but then immediately go back and be able to do it again. And so this tray is choose a sensory bottle, flip and turn it, and watch the colors mix. And then there's a color mixing chart on there that they can kind of reference or match their bottle up to. And also, all of the instructions on these cards include visuals. So I'm hoping they'll kind of catch the drift of them. And I like that this is like, I'm using this tray right now. Another kiddo's using this tray. We can switch, we can move it around, or we could do it together, right? So there's lots of options there. Another one in the colors unit is sorting paint swatches. I really wanted them to be able to see, like, yellow doesn't just look like this. There's shades of it. And so what better way to do that than grab those paint the swatch strips at the store. And I even found some this time, the shorter ones, like perforated. So that was super easy. Or you can cut them apart and then lay out the mats and they can match it up. And this would be interesting to see, like, kind of how do they see that color? Where do they think that color should go? Because they're different shades of colors. And that's another, like, important way to look at color. It's not just this solid color right here. It can have, many different shades of the rainbow. So I put all those in a little tub on the tray, and they can pull them out and match them. And you could take off the mats, the color mats, and only do certain ones. They can manage that if you want them to. It's really kind of open-ended in that sense. And then I decided what other fun way, like, I love prisms, but they're very hard for children to use by themselves, right? You have to get the light just right. And many times it's frustrating. And so prisms are fabulous, but they almost need someone right there to really kind of help use them. And so I thought, well, what else could they look and see colors through? Kaleidoscope, right? Some of our children may not even know what a kaleidoscope is because they're kind of actually hard to find now. Amazon has some, and you can, so for this one, there's 2 different steps, and I'm hoping they can follow kind of the picture here of use the kaleidoscope, then draw what you saw inside the kaleidoscope. So now they're kind of taking what they observed and putting it on paper, kind of like a scientist would, right? So that's the third one. And then the fourth one actually goes with the sensory tub itself. So the sensory tub itself is mixing colors. So already in the tub, I can have little cups, water, put in some food coloring, put in some pipettes, and they can just have a fine time mixing. I plan on also having, like, something for them to pour their dirty, done with water in. And if you don't have a sink in your room to fill them back up, maybe having like a jug or something that they could get water from, but being able to just constantly kind of go through this process. And since it's just water and food coloring, or you could even use liquid watercolors, it's not gonna be too much expense on that side, but just letting them actually see what happens when I do this. And then they're gonna take, like, what they mixed, and they can go and put it on the coffee filter and kind of take home what they mixed, and also really see, like, it's kind of hard to see when the color is all in the cup, but when I take it out of the cup and I drop it onto white, what happens? What does the color look like? Now I can start mixing colors on this. So much exploration going on. So sensory and the fourth tray kind of go together. And if you're wondering about the table that's in this picture, it's a pretty awesome table. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's from IKEA. It's Flysat, Flisat. They are so hard to get a hold of. Lots of people are using them, but you can put these tubs in them. You can put shallow ones, deep ones, and there's 2 spots for tubs. So they're really, really great for this because and they have like little tops to cover it. Like say you don't want to use the tub, you can use the sheet of wood to cover it. And so that's what I've done on this. One side they're using the eyedroppers and everything in the tub. And then the other side I closed off, and here's the tray where they can bring it over. So it's literally right there together. My suggestion, if you're looking for this thing from IKEA and you have an IKEA near you, if it is not in stock, have them notify you via text message. I literally went up there I literally went online and bought it the second that it came available because they are very, very hard to get your hands on right now. But you wouldn't necessarily have to have this if you had a full table. I mean, you could just have a tray for your color mixing, right? A tray for the color mixing, a tray for the coffee filter, excuse me, and do it that way as well. So you don't necessarily need this table. Don't let that hang you up. But in case you were wondering where I found it, that is where I found it. So now let's look into sounds. So I would, when we were done with colors, I would take the things off the tray, put them back in their color box, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. And then I would grab my sound box and set up these trays. So having my goal is to have things set before I go into the classroom. So literally all I have to do is put it out. Don't have to really research, don't have to come up with ideas, don't have to really dig deep and think about it, don't have to gather materials. I just want it all to be finished and we can share it across the hall, and that way more kiddos get exposure to it. So this first tray for the sounds is sort the items by loud or quiet sounds. And so you can't see it real well, but I did go ahead and tape the tops of these. These awesome little containers are actually from Hobby Lobby. They're in they're in one of their kid type of aisles, and they actually interlock. They're very nice little tubs. But I went ahead and put blue masking tape around the ones that were loud. Oh. Sorry, puppies are on high alert today. Okay, so I went ahead and put blue, not masking tape, but you know what I'm talking about. Duct tape. Oh, there we go. Put blue duct tape around the loud ones and yellow duct tape around the quiet ones to keep them shut so they're not pouring the stuff out. That's not the purpose. And so then it matches the mat, right? And so they can shake these and sort them based on their sound. And I've always loved the loud versus quiet type of sorting because, some of our letters are loud when they make their sound, like k, 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 but some of our letters are soft, right? Some of our softer letters are harder for them to hear, like a Q. And so hearing that difference is important for learning those letter sounds. Okay, the next one, let me show you here, is the sound match. So they're not going to be able to see what's inside, and they are going to try to match it to the correct card. So inside, different colored eggs. Make sure you're having 6 different colored Easter eggs, and put in some paper clips, cotton balls, jingle bells, buttons, and I can't remember what's in the orange one now, but fill all those up, right? And they're going to shake them and try to match them to the correct square, to the correct picture. And then to figure out if they're right, they can flip it over. And I colored on the back with a orange Sharpie, so they knew, oh, I was right. Orange egg goes to this one, because they're gonna want to know if they were right, and we don't want them opening it up. Now I remember. Orange has rice in it, and we don't necessarily want all these things all over our classroom. And so I've taped them shut, but then this way they can still see if they were correct, and just kind of making a game out of it. And listening for purpose, right? I'm listening intently to figure this out. That's listening for purpose, and we want them to practice that. Another one, play some instruments and draw your favorite instrument on the recording sheet. I love to bring in instruments, but sometimes they just become noise machines. So I want them to use them more purposefully, and I can do that by not having them available all the time for them, and also kind of attaching a task to it. And then the last one here is a telephone, a string telephone. And this is so fun. Just make sure you have paper cups and a string, and make sure that the string is all the way stretched out. Don't let there be like any dips in the string, and make sure no one's touching the string, and they're going to be able to hear each other through that string. It's super, super fun, and it's super cheap. So like if you had to remake this, if they crush the cup or, whatnot, it's not the end of the world. You could make multiple sets of this, but this really, really drives home the idea of sound waves, and exploring with that. Like, what will happen if we both talk? Well, we won't be able to hear, right? What if one of us touches the string? What if we stand right next to each other? What if we, all these different what ifs that they can do with these activities. So, and then for the sensory bin, these are open-ended rain sticks. So basically what I've done is taken a cardboard tube and shoved brads in them, brass fasteners, I think is what they call them at the store. But there are those things that you stick in. I don't have any left because I used them literally all in there, but you stick them, open them up in the back, through the paper. Well, I don't open them. I just stick them through in multiple different spots all over that tube, making lots of them. So they're just sticking straight through. And then to keep them in place, using duct tape around it. That's why it looks kind of bumpy, because there's all kinds of brads all over it. Wrapping that around, and then you have an open rain stick. So not only are, they hearing the rain stick and exploring the rain stick, they're scooping and pouring into it. So sound, but also some fine motor in there versus just putting rain sticks in and just doing the sound there. So kind of more open-ended as far as them being able to explore. Like if I only put a couple in, does that sound different? If I put a whole bunch in at one time, does that sound different? If I hold it sideways, is that going to be different? So many different ways to explore. And then I wanted to show you how I plan on organizing these. So these, I know it's a really kind of hard to see because it's a clear tub, but I found some clear tubs at Target, and they weren't an arm and a leg. I can't believe how much money it costs to buy organizational supplies. But these came in like a pack of 2. They have gray lids. And I knew that since I was doing sensory, I needed a bigger tub than I had used in the past, because I'm obviously going to be storing all that rice in there, right? So it had to be a little bit bigger. And then on the lid, on the inside of the lid, I put in what's on each tray, what's in the sensory tub, so I don't have to wonder and guess like, oh, what did this go to, or whatnot. And then all the materials, so I can make sure as I'm putting it together that I have all the materials. And if it's something I have to get last minute, I can just highlight that on the list, like this is a last minute item. So that's all in, it's right in there in the tub with it, so that in case I forget, or if I want to pass it to another teacher for them to use with their class, it lays it all out there and it won't get lost because it's taped to lid. So that was kind of I was super excited about that idea. I think it's going to work out great. So those are my new ideas for science centers. I would love to hear what you think, and like, what do you do in your science center? What works for you and your students? What keeps them engaged? And I know experiments keep them engaged, and so I'm trying to do more with STEM this year. I have usually kind of put it on the back burner, because it's not something that I like to do, but I know I need to get past that and put that as a priority for my students. So every other week we're going to do some STEM challenges and make sure that they get done and I have the materials. But anyhow, while those experiments are awesome, I feel like I need to do them supervised. So like, what are the things that you do in your science center that children can just go explore without you right there? So let me know in the comments, like, do you feel the same way I was kind of feeling about it, just being a little bit blah and children aren't really engaging unless it's magnets, because who doesn't love magnets, right? Let me know in the comments, how you feel about it and if you were kind of struggling too, and if this might be something that can help you, because these are coming out very, very soon. So they're going to come out slowly because there's a lot of them, but the first two are finished and I can start the year with them, and I'm very excited about that. So drop me a comment, let me know. I will talk to you all next week. Bye.